Every day was a world of silence. My son, Leo, hadn't spoken a word in 367 days. Not since the accident. The doctors called it selective mutism, a fortress of silence built by trauma. For me, it was a constant, aching, quiet. I missed his laugh, the way he'd shout my name from across the park, even his little arguments about bedtime. Now, there was just nothing. A void where my little boy's voice used to be. We communicated through a language of our own. A nod for yes, a shake for no, a squeeze of my hand for I love you, and a tighter squeeze back for I love you more. We had our routines. School, therapy, home. Every day was a careful dance around the silence. A desperate hope that today might be the day a word would break free. But it never was. The hope was starting to feel heavy, like a stone in my pocket. One Tuesday, our routine shattered. My car wouldn't start. Just a pathetic clicking sound, a mechanical sigh that mirrored my own. I had to get Leo to his therapy appointment, a non-negotiable part of our week. The bus was our only option. I hated the bus. The noise, the crowds, the unpredictable lurches. It was a sensory minefield for a child who already felt overwhelmed by the world. As we boarded, I could feel Leo shrink into himself, his small hand gripping mine so tightly his knuckles were white. He pulled his hoodie up, a turtle retreating into his shell. We found a seat, and I wrapped my arm around him, trying to be a shield against the chaos of the city rolling past the window. It started out, but I knew he wasn't really seeing the buildings or the people. He was somewhere else, somewhere deep inside that silent fortress. A few stops later, an elderly man with kind, crinkly eyes and a halo of white hair got on. He carried a worn leather satchel and moved with a slow, deliberate grace. The bus was packed, and the only available spot was the seat next to me, which was half occupied by my bag and Leo's backpack. I quickly gathered our things, mumbling an apology. He just smiled warmly and said, "No trouble at all, my dear. Accept din." And for a while, there was just the rumble of the bus and the hum of conversations around us. I expected him to pull out a phone or a book, like everyone else, but he didn't. Instead, he just sat there, observing the world with a gentle curiosity. Then, his eyes landed on Leo. I tensed, ready to deflect any questions, any well-meaning but painful inquiries about why my son was so quiet. But he didn't ask. He didn't speak to Leo at all. Instead, he opened his old satchel and took out a small, smooth, gray stone. It was a simple river stone, the kind you'd skip across a lake. He held it in his palm, and then, with a surprising bit of dexterity, he made it disappear. One moment, it was there. The next, it was gone. He opened his hand to show it was empty. I watched, intrigued, despite myself. He then reached over, very slowly, and pretended to pull the stone from behind Leo's ear. He opened his hand, and there it was, resting in his palm. He didn't say a word to Leo. He just looked at him and gave a slow, deliberate wink. My breath caught in my throat. I watched Leo. His eyes, usually so distant, were fixed on the man's hand. A flicker of something I hadn't seen in a year sparked in their depths. Curiosity. Pure, childlike wonder. The man smiled, then placed the stone on Leo's knee. Leo didn't flinch. He just stared at it. The man then took out another object from his bag. It was a small, wooden bird whistle. It looked ancient, polished smooth by countless hands. He didn't blow into it. Instead, he simply tapped it rhythmically against his knuckle. A soft, gentle beat. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap. A simple, quiet rhythm in the noisy bus. He offered the whistle to Leo. My son, my silent son, hesitated for only a second before reaching out his small hand and taking it. His fingers traced the carved feathers. He held it, turning it over and over. The man just watched, his expression one of patient kindness. He wasn't expecting anything. There was no pressure, no demand. Justa simple. Shared moment. For the rest of the ride, the man didn't perform any more tricks. He just sat in peaceful companionship with us. He'd occasionally catch my eye and offer a small, reassuring smile. It was a smile that said, "I see you. I see your struggle." It's okay. It was a kindness I hadn't realized how desperately I needed. When our stop came, I gathered our things. As we stood to leave, the man placed a gentle hand on my arm. "He's a good boy," he said, his voice soft. "He just needs time to find his way back." I felt a lump form in my throat. I could only nod, unable to speak past the sudden wave of emotion. As we stepped off the bus, Leo was still clutching the wooden whistle. I held his hand as we walked the last block to the therapist's office. The world felt a little less hostile, a little brighter. That stranger's simple, unconditional kindness had been a balm on my frayed soul. We sat in the waiting room, the familiar silence settling around us again. But this time it felt different. Less heavy, less permanent. Leo was still examining the whistle, his thumb rubbing over the smooth wood. The therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Evans, called his name. We stood up, and as we walked towards her office door, it happened. Leo stopped. He looked down at the whistle in his hand, then up at me. His eyes were clear, focused. He took a small breath, and then a sound, a tiny, raspy, almost inaudible whisper. "Bird." The world stopped. The single word hung in the air, the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. Tears streamed down my face, hot and fast. I knelt down and pulled him into a hug, burying my face in his hair, trying not to sob too loudly and scare him. He hugged me back, his small arms wrapped tightly around my neck. He'd found his way back, or at least, he'd found the first step on the path. That one word was a key, unlocking the door that had been sealed shut for a year. In the weeks that followed, more words came. First a trickle, then a stream, then a river. It wasn't easy, but the silence had been broken. I never saw that man from the bus again. I don't know his name, or where he was going, or why he carried magic stones and silent whistles in his bag, but he gave us a gift more precious than anything. He didn't try to fix my son. He just met him where he was, in the silence. He offered a moment of connection without expectation, a moment of magic in the middle of a mundane Tuesday. He told me that sometimes the greatest kindness isn't about finding the right words to say, but about having the grace to share the silence. And for that, I will be forever grateful. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched you, please consider liking and subscribing for more content. Remember to be kind. You never know the battle someone is fighting. See you next time.